Hello, Bruins fans, and welcome to episode 74 of Bruins Beat, brought to you by CLNS Radio. I'm Mike with Joe and Jason, as always, and we're coming to you live a week after the Boston Bruins have been eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. And obviously, I miss watching the Boston Bruins play, but I can tell you one thing: I'm not as upset with them as I usually am, just because for the sole fact they didn't choke down the stretch, and I actually got to see playoff hockey. So I was happy about that. But I digress, and we'll move on to something else that's kind of positive, because the Boston Bruins have finally lifted the interim tag of head coach Bruce Cassidy, and he's now becoming a full-time coach for your Boston Bruins. And Joe and I have been asking for this for a while now, and I understood why they didn't do it during the season. But we were just saying that he's been turning this team around. He's getting the most out of everyone. And it's about time that they actually named Bruce Cassidy the coach. And remember last week we talked about it, and we were like, if they don't do this soon, like what the hell is going to go on here? So I'm happy they did it sooner rather than later.
Cassidy forever, finally. I mean, I did not know that he was on Touch and Rich last week, but I heard him yesterday. Or was it today? I can't remember. It was today. It was today.
It was
today. It was today.
Today.
Yeah, I don't know what
Although
day.
I thought it was
anyway,
Friday. It's like he did an interview Friday too somewhere.
But anyway, what I liked about him is he's very candid. He says how it is. He said, like Don Sweeney, he goes, I don't take care of the prospects. That's what Donnie does. I do this. He was a good interview. It was a very good interview. Whereas some other guys just play stuff off and what have you. So I hope he's on more often with the during the season. That'd be awesome because as we know,
you knew the interview was really good when after the interview, like Toucher and Rich were like, we need him on again, and like they're like, I don't know who does schedule these interviews, but we need him on again. His interview was on Toucher and Rich was absolutely fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah,
hey, Mike, can you send me a link at some point? If there's a link out there for his interview? Because I missed it.
The Bruins have been, as we all know, Cam Neely stopped doing his stuff with Felger and Maz early in the year, and he came back the last, month and a half, whatever. So they were kind of hiding away from the press. So this is good.
He came back when it was all sunshine and roses.
Of course, because he didn't like to talk about the jumbo meatball all day. So, it's good that they're coming back into the fold and starting to talk to the media again, and now that things are turning for the better. I did like how Cassie mentioned all these young kids coming up. He goes, Bruins fans should be excited and all this stuff, but he goes, at the end of the day, it's going to what happens on the ice. So I like the whole attitude, everything about it.
Yeah, I thought if you didn't see the interview or hear the interview, I would check it out. He went in depth about certain players, about, like you said, the young players, and how he's excited about the future. He also talked about Ryan Spooner and how Ryan Spooner pretty much sucks, and all Bruins fans should know that now too. He talked about injuries on the team. It was just the way he talked and gave an interview. You just wanted to hear him talk. He just seems like a guy you want to hang out with and talk hockey with.
Yeah,
did he not? That's what he's.
Sorry.
That just sounds what he talks about. You just you can sit there and talk to him about hockey all day long.
I love how he talked about Bergeron.
You know why?
Oh, he just said how much of a leader is, how much of a warrior he is. He's with fighting through that sports hernia the whole year. He goes, we're going to need him next year too. He goes, he'll take. He goes, he's a great guy to be around, a great player to be around. I think he adores the guy. I mean, I think because he's just his type of player. So it was good to hear that. Sports hernia. I don't know how he could play with that whole season. That must be insane.
Yeah, that must have been remarkable for him to even play all season long. And remember we talked about it early on when he was struggling. We were like, there's got to be something wrong with him because he just didn't look the same this year, and now you know why. And he, later on he started playing a little bit better, but there were stretches where you were like, where is Patrice Bergeron? Like, where's not that he was playing terribly, but it was just like, where's the Bergeron that we've come to know and love? He was still doing the little things right, but it seemed like the offensive side of his game was taking a little bit of a hit. And now we know why. He was playing with a sports hernia all year.
If I can point this out, I ran a 5K with a sports hernia. Trust me, it's not fun. I know how Bergeron feels.
I know. Imagine that.
It has to play 82-game schedule plus 6 playoff games. And obviously, this is like wear and tear in your body as much as it is going through the gauntlet of an NHL schedule. And now having to deal with that, too, it's just absurd. And then you heard that Brandon Carlo had a concussion. Torrey Krug said he might have been able to play Game 7 if it went to Game 7, but he was obviously a knee injury. And Krejci kind of didn't even disclose what it was. Obviously, everyone knows it was a knee, but he didn't talk about his first injury that had him miss the first 2 games. He just said it was an upper body and happened in practice. I wish Krejci was a little bit more honest about what happened because, I mean, like you guys know, I love David Krejci, but I was ripping him up for not missing those first 2 games, and he just decided not to tell us what happened to him. And I think that's a bad look.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, he didn't at all.
No.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think he's borderline. Maybe wants out of there.
You think so?
Yeah, because they're not giving the wingers all this time. I mean, they're talking about what we call Cassidy was actually mentioned that today. You try to give him I think he said left winger. Talking about DeBrusque coming up and all that stuff and the young kids. He goes, hopefully someone can slide into that role. So it's just I think it's I don't know. Maybe Krejci's losing patience, but at the same time, he hasn't really done a whole lot since 13. I need to be honest with you. So he has a team, but
I know, but I think Krejci does deserve a left winger, though. He hasn't had one since Lucic. And it's funny you say that. Some people and Lucic kind of got a mixed reaction from certain players, like, oh, it's time to move on, or no, let's keep him. And it's funny that they haven't even replaced someone to put on Krejci's line since Lucic. And I know it's only been a couple of years, but you would figure you would have a mainstay on your second line left wing to put after Lucic left. You don't just trade someone and don't replace him. I think that's what the Bruins have come and faltered the past few years. They've been trading players and not replacing them.
Well, that's true. Yeah, no, it's a true story. I mean, Gimlin bought a house. Who knows?
What'd you say?
You heard it.
Not going to happen.
In the Boston
He's not coming back to Boston. Boston's not going to go back to that. They're going to stay young.
Oh, if they sign the Gimler, I'll lose my mind.
Well, if they get him for cheap, I don't care. He's
Why? We don't need that. We don't need him.
Well, I'm just saying they had a good chemistry with Krejci. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand that, but now he's like 40 years old and he can't even really skate anymore. He's had a great career. I'm not trying to crap on Joe McGinley's career because he's obviously had a great career.
Great career. He had a great year in Boston that year he was here, but he's a couple years older. He's not the same talent. He's not really noticeable.
And
wouldn't make much of a difference.
Like you said, they need to go younger. They have all these young guys coming up, and if you sign a Gimler, it's just going to take someone's spot. And look, I get it. Like some of the young players aren't going to pan out. Cassidy said this too, and it's right. All these young players aren't going to pan out. But I would rather give a young player a chance to show and prove themselves than give it to a 40-year-old Jerome McGinley who's obviously going to retire and hang him up probably within a year or two.
I'm just saying if you drop Jerome Gimla on this team, he is probably the 4th best forward on the team instantaneously.
I think you're looking at Jerome McGinley like 5 years ago, like when he scored 30 goals with the Bruins. He's not that player anymore.
That player and the Bruins aren't the same team they were 5 years ago. It's a different style.
I don't know. I'd take a flyer on him. I'd take a flyer. But anyway.
If you can't get him for cheap, maybe. But I would use him more as a leader spot like Sean Thornton.
Plenty of room on the third and fourth lines for guys. It's plenty of room.
Yeah, but shouldn't we be shooting for better players than Jerome McGinley in his 40s?
I would rather try to get Anders Bjork in there, personally.
I'm talking veteran minimum. I'm not even talking a lot of money. So I just pan out, see what happens. If not, you cut ties. I don't, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. I'm not saying he's a safe. He's far from.
I just think his style of play is kind of not what the NHL is anymore. He plays a heavy style. He's a lot of I think he's gonna be like Backes, to be honest. And we've talked about how disappointing Backes kind of was this year. And I think a Gimler and Backes are similar players. Obviously, a Gimler had better goal scoring touch back in his day, but he's older now, and I think a Gimler and Backes will pretty much be the same player. And we don't need more than that. We need more speed. They do. Yes, they definitely need to upgrade their second and third lines, and they have plenty of room there. But I'd rather see it go to a young speed guy like Solaric or DeBrusque or Zarnik rather than sign a Gimler for that money. If you're going to re-sign a veteran, why not just re-sign Dominic Moore, who actually showed and played pretty well last year as a fourth line guy instead of a Gimler. At least you know Dominic Moore. At least Dominic Moore, you can put him on your fourth line. You know what you're going to get from him, and just keep him instead of signing a Gimler. That's just what I would personally do.
What's scary? He's like one of the best free agent signings they had because the other ones like the Hayes is. Hayes was a trade, but
Hayes is gone. It wouldn't shock me.
Oh no,
I wouldn't be shocked if they buy him out.
Well, we'll talk about we'll do the report card on who's going to be gone shortly, right? So, can we just
let me say something because Mike was bringing up the young players, and I wanted to point this out. If you're looking at the Providence Bruins right now, they just got past the number 1 Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, and that should be a testament to the Bruins' young players underneath them. And this is why the Bruins need to stay young. They have some talent down there.
Yeah, they do. They have some talent, and I'm excited to see what they can do, and that's why I don't want a Gimla. I'd rather them go younger and see what these kids can do. And look, I understand you need to fix it and bolster it up, but I just don't think a Gimla is the answer. I'd rather the fourth line or third line role go to someone else.
Well, I mean, let me reiterate. I never say he was the answer. I say he's probably a small, very small part. So just get some.
No, I know. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Joe. I'm just saying that I'd rather go
or
with
other things.
So let me ask you guys this question: is Patrice Bergeron the toughest Bruins player in a while?
What do you mean? Just fighting?
Tough, as in handling injuries, continuing and playing through them, going back to the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. Is he the toughest Bruin in the lineup right now?
Do you guys remember that infographic that came out in the 13 Cup? All the injuries he had. It was insane. It wasn't even human. He's reached a new level. I mean, that's just. I mean, that year was just. I mean, sports hernia was like a scab compared to that year for him. What he had? Punctured lung. He had broken ribs. What else? He had a couple other things too. I don't think that was just it.
Yeah, he had
his lung collapsed, or it was borderline collapsing. So.
Well, yeah, I remember saying if there was a game set, if the Bruins went to Game 7, he might not even have been able to play because of how much energy it took out of him to play Game 6.
And it's amazing how he said he may not be able to play. He still thought he could play. That's why. I mean, what did Cassidy say? The hockey players. That's how hockey players are. That's why you love the sport, right? That's just exactly why you love the sport. You know,
it's the truth. It is why you love the sport.
Let me know when you get in this Crosby thing because I'm dying to talk about it. I know it's not Bruins, but I get.
All right, well, let's do the Bruins related report card first, and then we can get to Crosby. So obviously,
write down alphabetically.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just pull up the Bruins roster right now, and we'll just go through it. Whoever comes up first. If you guys weren't listening at the time, we did this at midway point during the season. Did a Bruins report card about who's been playing well, who's been playing obviously not well. And give our grades and discuss about the certain players. And
we sure
so yeah, we'll just go right in alphabetical order. Have the roster up here. We should revisit that at some point, but we'll just go from here. No, Joe, we'll do it live.
All right, we're gonna do it. So just do it. We'll go down alphabetically. So we'll go Noel Acciari.
Yep, Noel Acciari was the first player, and obviously he's up and down with the Bruins. He got hurt. And then he was up and down towards the end of the year. But I thought Noel Acciari played a tremendous Stanley Cup playoff.
Yeah, great.
I think I would give Noel Acciari a B because he impressed me. Obviously, I'm not going to go any higher than a B because, he wasn't up there the whole season long. Obviously, he got hurt. But I think when he was playing and he was a mainstay on that fourth line with Moore and Nash, I give him a solid B.
So we'll go around. You go Mike, myself, Jason. I will give him a B-.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, you get the grade. Gotta give the why too.
God, you just pushed me to the limits, Jason. You expect me to think now? Yes. No, just like Mike said, he was a mucker, a grinder. He played a great Stanley Cup. That's probably where you got a B- for me. He's probably C+, but the playoffs, we're going to count the playoffs, right? So the playoffs kind of rose him above there. I mean, he was just a mucker, a grinder, and he got his nose in there. I mean, I don't know what else you can ask for. So.
Well, I'm going to shock you guys, so I'm going to go above both of you. I'm going to go with a B+ because he stood out in the playoffs, and he was one of the tougher players in the playoffs that played consistently. I think the playoffs are a different animal than the regular season, so the fact that he became a playoff player was impressive for me, which is why I'm going to go with a B+.
All right, I can see that.
Yep, fair enough. David Backes, I think this one's interesting. I mean, Backes was the number one signing in the offseason for the Bruins, and to be honest, he had a really good start to the year when he started the year with Marchand and Pashnik at the line. He started out really great, but I think he slowly but surely went downhill. In the playoffs, I thought he was borderline invisible, to be honest. I think Backes was underwhelming this year. I wasn't very happy. I mean, he had 38 points. I mean, if you're making $6-7 million, you should be having more than 38 points. And look, I get it. I know he was signed more for his toughness and grit. Let's see.
I know he got hurt, so let me see how
he played 74 games.
All right, so he missed 8 games. I'll let you finish if you can finish.
No, yeah, I didn't think it was underwhelming. I'm gonna give David Backes, I guess, a C-.
I actually thought he played better in Game 5 and 6 than he did in the four prior games. Especially when he was paired up with KYRIE, because that game they took over after Krejci got hurt, basically. I thought in the OTs. So I give him a C+. As you all know, too, I was really excited about Backes, and I think I was probably thinking David Backes. He was far cry from what he was last year in the playoffs because he had a real good playoff run with St. Louis. But, of course, St. Louis probably had way more talent than the Bruins did. So I think he's as good as the guys around him. So when he got taken off the Bergeron-Marchand line, he struggled. I think that whole second line struggled anyway. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think if he's put with the best players, I think he could do good things. If he's put with average players, he's nothing but average. So I would go C+.
Okay, you guys gonna make me think here. I liked David Backes in the playoffs, and I think a lot of my grades are gonna go based on playoff performance. Because it was the end of the season, I'm gonna compare the last half of the season to the end of the season. I'm not focusing on the first half of the season. So at the end of the season, I'm going to agree with Joe. I think he played relatively well in the playoffs for a playoff player. I think he kind of stepped it up in the playoffs, but, and throughout the end of the second half of the season, he was a C-plus player. He stepped it up with KYRIE, but for what he's getting paid, for him being the biggest free agent signing, I'm expecting a little bit more.
Yep, I am also. The next one is Matt Bolesky, and Matt Bolesky, I think, is turning into one of those players that signed in Boston that's going to be ultimately one of the worst signings in recent memory. Not that he makes a ton of money. He doesn't. He makes 3.8.
He does. I think he makes 3 or 4 million.
Yeah, but that's not a ton of money in today's NHL.
I know. It's all money.
No, it's really not that. It's really not that.
It's
much.
a deal. 4 million's a deal compared to what the Bruins have had to shell out in the past. So I'm with Mike on that one. I'll explain that more after.
Yep. All right.
But Bolesky, I think Bolesky sucks, and I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Bolesky. I don't think he fits. I mean, he cares. He does. He tries really hard, and he wants to be good, and he wants to succeed in Boston. But the way he's played this year, and he was getting scratched in the playoffs. He only came back because Krejci got hurt again. That's the only reason Bolesky played. And I was listening to Gosher and Pierce on the radio during the hockey show on 98.5 The Sports Hub, and they think they're gonna keep Bolesky next year. He's gonna be motivated. I hope that's the case. But for this 1 year, I'm gonna give Matt Bolesky a flat out F.
As you guys know, I want him to succeed. I kind of like what he could bring to the table, but I kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I think he's another guy that's a product of the system he was in and the guys that were around him with Getzlaf and Perry, because he just sucked donkey. I mean, he was D-. Man, I give him a D-, and it's just like I said, it's just a shame that we expect a lot more from him. And his first season was pretty good, but yeah, this year was just bad. And then, it just tells you that he's better than Ryan Spooner because he got the call over in the playoffs. So D-, he just wasn't good. It looks like another crappy free agent signing for the Bruins. So.
Okay, and here's where I'm going to bring in the contract and all that, because when you're paying a player $4 million, and you saw some quote unquote flashes in Anaheim for some of the goals that he scored, he showed some of that toughness in that Western Division. But I think Matt Bolesky in Anaheim was flashy. Therefore, when you're paying him the $4 million, you're getting a coin flip, deal or no deal kind of thing, where it's either going to fail or it's going to work. But if it fails, it's not going to be a big deal because you're only paying the guy cheap pay. With that being said, I'm with Mike. This year he hasn't panned out. He suffered a lot of injuries. I'm wondering if that kind of held him back. I'm wondering how much he was actually suffering. I'm wondering how much of it was actually effort. I do expect more from him next year. If he if he continues to be that flashy player, he won't be here after next year. With that being said, I'm going with an F.
All right, Anton Blee is next, but I don't think he played that much to warrant us to give him any. So the next one is going to be Brandon Carlo. Obviously, the rookie defenseman made the team out of training camp. Brandon Carlo.
Bergie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did forget Bergie. I'll start.
Pretty important guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty important guy. He's a very important guy. So
how do you not give him an A+ just for fighting a sports hernia the entire year?
Because I don't think Bergeron had a good year. I understand he played hurt.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and I respect it. I appreciate it, but I can't go A+ just because he played injured. I mean, I'm looking at it on the ice the way he played during the year, and I think he had ups and downs throughout the season. He started the year pretty bad. He had a great end of the season during the playoffs. I think his line with Pasternak and Marchand were pressing too much, and
at the end they were.
Yeah, they were pressing too much. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that Bergeron sucks because he didn't. I would be lying to you if I said that. But I would think I would just give Bergeron like a B minus.
B was that's really low. Shit. I was thinking, I think he came on at the end. I think he had a pretty bad beginning. I think he came on in the middle and the end. I think he had a decent playoffs. They needed more of them, though. I mean, 2 goals just wasn't enough, evidently. I give him a B minus. I think. Did you say B minus?
I did too.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean B minus. Matt,
just stick with it. That's kind of funny. Just stick with it. Come on. That's how you truly feel, man.
I don't need your peer pressure. I'm gonna go B. I think B for him. I think he's still a B for Bergie is like an A for everyone else. So it's still pretty good.
Well, here's what's interesting is I'm gonna go with an A minus because I think fighting through a sports hernia is very difficult, and the way that he played having that sports hernia, it's for me it's impressive, especially because I've had one and I know how it feels to have one. I have to go A minus on that low because he did pick it up towards the end of the year. He still played hard. He still played tough. He won a lot of faceoffs. He did what he had to do for not being 100%. So A minus.
Do I get like a pat on the back because I worked through it? Because if I had the runs all day at work and I worked through it, do I get a pat on the back? I mean, he still did not. We're going on performance. I mean, he had an injury. So if you did not know,
he had an injury that he fought 110% with, whether or not he had the injury. That injury can slow you down. It slowed me down running a 5K. So I can only imagine the kind of pain he was going through.
I'm not discrediting the injury, but say we did this for Porka at the end of the regular season and you did not know the injury. What would you have gave him?
Still an A minus.
How can you give him an A minus? That's absurd to me.
Because I think he played with a lot of effort, and for me, it's an effort thing, and Bergeron doesn't quit.
Yeah, but
he didn't have the numbers. Don't get me wrong.
Everyone gets a trophy.
But just because you play with a lot of effort doesn't mean the results are there.
He didn't. Yeah, I know he didn't have the numbers, but he was still relatively Selke worthy.
He's not going to win. He's not winning the Selke.
No, he's not. But he's in my book. He's an A minus.
All right, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion.
It's an A plus in your heart.
I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I could be wrong, but I'm sticking to my guns.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's fine.
So yeah, this is what bothers me about some of the. And this isn't just you, Jason. It's the Bruins. It's the Boston things with Bergeron. It's like no one can ever criticize him. It's like, well, he didn't have a good year, but he was hurt. Oh, but he didn't have a good year. But then when Krejci plays a couple games in the playoffs and sucks, everyone's like, Krejci is brutal. He's the worst player in the world. Let's get rid of him. But with Bergeron, it's like, Bergeron played injured. It's okay, Bergeron. It's okay, Bergeron. We'll just give you a pat on the back. Yippee! Here's your participation trophy for playing all season long. No worries at all.
Angry Mike is back. I missed you, kid. So he's Jason. That's why he didn't talk before the show because
here's what I'm looking through. I'm sitting here. I'm looking at his regular season stats. His stats weren't that bad. 21 goals, 32 assists, 53 points with a plus minus of 12.
For him, that's not great. It's not great for him. That's not an A minus for him. That's a B minus for him.
Give me a moment.
I'm not saying he had
Give me a moment. You might have a point.
Oh, you can't change it now, Mister. We have to get through the loss.
I thought you were sticking to your guns.
No, I'm sticking to it. After looking at the stats from past seasons, I'm sticking to it. He's had 2 30-goal seasons, but his average goals on average were about the 21-22 range. Assists in the same area, plus minus in the same area.
Weighing 155 pounds, Mike. And this quarter, weighing.
I just looked at the stats all over my phone from his entire career in Boston.
You guys are gonna fight. I can't deal with.
No, we're not. We're not gonna fight. Look at you trying to be the referee and make us.
I can't do it. Ready to rumble. All right, we gotta move on. We got a lot of people to go through still.
All right. Well, next player is Brandon Carlo. So sorry, Bergeron, for skipping you in the first place. Brandon Carlo obviously made the team out of camp as a rookie. Was playing next to Chara. He missed the playoff series due to concussion from, I thought, a cheap shot by Ovechkin, but Well, I think
it is. It is a cheap shot. We'll get into cheap shots later, but yes, it was a cheap shot.
Yes, it was definitely a cheap shot. I was pleasantly surprised with Carlo's rookie season. I thought he had some ups and downs. Obviously,
Wait
for
a minute.
rookie.
You were really all over him not too long ago.
Well, he had some ups and downs. Obviously, I'm a straight shooter, Joe. If he's playing bad, I'm gonna say he's playing bad. I thought
he calls a spade a spade.
Yeah, I thought during the year that he could have used a little bit of a break. And you even admitted he hit a wall. But doesn't mean I was ready to trade him. But no, it doesn't mean I'm saying that he had a bad year. I just thought he hit a rookie wall. But for the most part, being 20 years old, playing 20+ minutes a night, I thought he played for the most part really well this year. And I'm going to give Brandon Carlo a solid B.
I agree with that. And if they had him in the playoffs, he could have definitely gave him the stability they need and got rid of Tommy Cross and John Michael Lyles and looked that garbage that they had in there. So I mean, he could have been a little difference maker. Too bad we couldn't get him back. But I agree with him. I agree with you too. A B for coming into the league at 19 years old. He's not Charlie McAvoy. We know that, but he did a very admirable job. So I go with a B as well.
You know what? I'm gonna have a hard time disagreeing with you guys because I completely agree. I'm gonna go with a B. He played very impressive for a rookie. He had a great rookie year under Chara. Had his ups and downs, had his flashes, scored some nice goals, but I'm gonna go with the B.
Sweet.
B's all around?
Yes, sir. B's for the B's.
All right, so I don't think Solaric played enough to talk about, so we'll skip Solaric for now. But let's go with his D partner, Zdeno Chara, and obviously Zdeno Chara played this year at 39 years old. Both turned 40 actually. I thought Chara had a really good year for his age, and I was very, very impressed with Chara this year compared to last year. Obviously, I think last year he had a really, really bad year. But this year I thought he was relatively good. And I think you can't ask for much more from Chara at age 39, playing the minutes that he's played. It's not his fault the Bruins haven't replaced him as the number one defenseman. But he did all they asked. They did take him off the power play. The Bruins did have one of the number one top 3 penalty kills all season long because I think Chara played so well. So I'm going to give Chara a B+ because I was expecting a lot worse.
I think we're going to agree a lot, Mike, and this is probably the first and last time this will ever happen. I agree. I think Chara got way too much criticism from a lot of the fans considering he's 40 years old. And I think he played the best that he has played since 2013. That's when he started turning the corner for the back 9 of his career. I think he digressed the last few years. But I think this year, having Brandon Carlo and then McAvoy with him, the youth movement to kind of make up for some of his lack of speed issues, I think he did really well too. I think I give him a B+.
All right. No doubt Chara slowed down. No doubt Chara was not the same player he was. But he played well leading Carlo and McAvoy. And he had a better season than everybody expected. Chara's name was on the trade block more than you could possibly imagine before the season even started. That being said, I was impressed with it. I'm going with an A-. So right around you guys.
A-?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's admirable, Jason.
All right. The next player, Austin Zarnik. I don't think he played enough to force Bucket Carlson. Nope. Grizzlick. Nope. Let's go with Joe's favorite player on the Boston Bruins. Number 11, Jimmy. Hey!
F.
Can I give him?
I think Joe. Just take this one yourself. Just take this one yourself.
All right, myself. Okay. I give him a
F.
I don't even have. You know what? I'm not even going to insult the school system grade system by even giving him a grade. So you know what? He's an X.
Yeah.
Extra shitty. So that's what he was. So
can we give him an I? Well, we can't give him an I because he was not incomplete because he played.
I give him for. Let's see. I give him. I give him. Actually, you know what? I think I give him a friggin' felony for stealing money from the Bruins. So that's what he is. He's a criminal. So let's just call him what he is. He sucks. See you later. I know you're from Southie and you wear your scally cap and you're gonna go down to Dot Ave and drink some beers, but you blow. So you're out of here.
All right, I think that sums up Jimmy Hayes. Right. So let's go. The next player I think will be an interesting one, to say the least. Enhan Hudobin. Obviously, Anton Khudobin was up and down this year, just like a lot of the Bruins were. But towards the end of the year, he played great. And remember, everyone was on the Ryan Khudobin train. Was
Benza, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. But for the most, I know he played good down the stretch, and he had a few games, and he was under Cassidy. He played well, but I can't get over the fact that how bad he was in the beginning of the year.
Bad.
He was bad to the point where the Bruins were calling up Zane McIntyre, and Khudobin was getting placed on waivers left and right. So I know Khudobin finished the year strong, but I can't get over the beginning part of the year, so that's why I'm going to give Khudobin a C.
Oh, a C. That's even nice. I would have to say C.
He was really good down the stretch, though. That's why I'm going to.
He was money. He was money down the stretch. I give him a C minus though because he's definitely below average for the whole year if you put his body work together. And Mike, think about it. If he wins 2 or 3 more games, they're probably in second. Maybe if they start the series at home, they get, who knows? Oh, actually not this year because they lost all 3, but you don't know. Whatever. They could have had a different positioning. They could have played something completely different in the playoffs. So him just sucking the way he is, I would still look for another backup. I don't trust him. I think he blows.
Well, Sweeney even said that. And Cassidy both said backup goalie in their press conferences, so it'll be interesting to see how.
Did I say C minus, D plus? Yeah, that's what he is. So D plus.
Okay, now I'm gonna ride the same trend I've been riding. For me, I'm focusing on the last half of the season, and that's it. So my grade is gonna be different than you guys' because I'm focusing on just the last half of the season.
You have to do the last half of the season. You have to do the whole body from start to the end of the playoffs.
Well, we already did the grades for the first half of the season, so we're focusing on how it ends.
Well, then you have to change the Bergeron pick.
These are end of the year grades.
All right, then if we're going end of the year, I'm gonna agree with you guys. He's probably in the area of a C plus, ish.
No, so just let's.
I'm being generous, but if I'm playing at the last half of the season, he was more of a B minus. But if we're playing the entire year, he's a C plus.
Just make sure we grade this correctly. This is from when we gave our last grading to the end of the playoffs when they got eliminated. So that's the whole body of work. Okay, so Mike, who is next on the list?
Next on the list here, after Anton Khudobin, is my binky David Krejci. Obviously, everyone hates David Krejci. Obviously, I don't hate David Krejci.
Love him.
I know he makes a lot of money. I understand that, and there's no denying that. I get it. He makes a lot of money. I understand that. I'm not denying that, but it's not his fault that he makes a lot of money. He just signed the contract. Blame the general manager. But I thought Krejci was pretty good this year, personally. I'm not going to say he was great because he wasn't great. But he tied his career high in goals with 23. He had 31 assists. He had 54 points. He also had more points than Patrice Bergeron, that everyone claims is the best player on planet Earth and Bruins land. Just throwing that out there. But
yes,
I think Krejci was good, especially as we talked about. He never has any friggin' line mates. Every time the Bruins are down by a goal, they were putting Pasternak with Bergeron and Marchand. They're putting Backes with Krejci. I think Backes didn't have a good year, but I think Krejci had a decent year, not a great, decent. So I give Krejci a B minus.
Mike and Jason, did you see the movie Anchorman?
Of course.
Do you remember the scene when Ron Burgundy's outside and Christina Applegate walks away, and Ron Burgundy looks at her and says, "I want to be on you." That was basically Mike to David Krejci. I want to be on you.
Mike's grade surprised me, so I'm going to be disagreeing with Mike on this.
Well, I didn't get my grade yet. Hold on. I didn't get my grade yet. I give David Krejci a C plus because the thing that's scaring me about him is that he's turning into the injury machine. I know he can't really help injuries, but he just seems he has no luck, and some players just attract injury. He's getting to that point now. I think he's a C minus player now. I think he's like average. He doesn't have any wingers. I know he has no wingers, but he's a far cry from what he was in 13 and 14. Far cry, like not even close. So
if you're playing statistically, Krejci had a better year than Bergeron, and I'm the one that graded Bergeron with the A minus. So now I have two choices: either agree with you guys or give him the same grade as Bergeron.
Whatever works. It's America. Huge.
Statistically, he had a better year. I'm almost. God. I'm going to go with a B plus.
Be nice. That's fine. Okay, who we got next?
Do you disagree with me, Mike?
B plus? No, I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
You guys just lube each other up and talk about David Krejci all day. All right, who's next?
Torrey Krug is next. Joe. First of all, Joe's trying to be a referee of us fighting. Now he's telling us we lube each other up. We can't win with Joe.
Hey man, I'm trying to work both sides here. I'm like Trump. All right, go ahead.
Fake news.
Fake news. Fake news. Huge.
All right, so Torrey Krug is next. Torrey Krug, obviously they signed the big contract in the offseason for $5+ million. So this one's difficult for me because I thought Torrey Krug during the beginning of the year was really bad too.
Really bad.
I mean, a lot of the Bruins to start the year are pretty damn bad.
Hurt.
So.
He was hurt, right? He just got out of. He was hurt off season. He's coming back.
Yes, that's correct. But I thought as the season went on, Torrey Krug was one of their most consistent, well-rounded defensemen all season long. Obviously, I know he's not good mostly in his own end. He was -10 this year. But Torrey Krug's not looked at as a shutdown defenseman. He's looked at more to give offense. I'm going to give Torrey Krug a B+.
I agree with you. He was red-hot garbage at the beginning of the year. Most of the team was. So, I guess maybe that kind of masked it a bit. I give him... He was definitely their second-best defenseman. So, or maybe borderline first because, Carlo, Chara's old. Carlo is still young. I'd have to give him probably B+. I think he came around. In the beginning, he was really hot garbage, but I think he finished up strong. And I think as Jason's mentioned too, missing him in the playoffs was a big, huge blow.
Okay, so I'm thinking about this because for me, the Bruins felt like two different teams, one under Julian and one under Cassidy. So I have a hard time grading Torrey Krug or most of these players based on how they were with Julian because they changed their game when Cassidy came aboard. It was a different intensity. However, with Torrey Krug, right now, towards the end of the season, my two favorite defensemen were Torrey Krug and Kevin Miller, which hearing me say that is shocking. I'm going to go with a B+.
All right, copy me. All right, we got next
He
one.
copied you, huh? Sean Corrali had a good few stretches in the playoffs, but he didn't play that much. I'm just going to do this one. John Michael Lyles is an F. I don't even know why the Bruins re-signed him. I think he sucks. And I think
Is he a free agent?
Yes.
Good. Bye-bye. All right, bye-bye.
So, the next, so John Michael Lyles, F, solid F. So the next player is going to be Brad Marchand. And Brad Marchand is definitely going to be a good one because there was talks about him becoming, obviously, a Hart nominee when he was up there with, McDavid and Crosby in points. This one's tricky for me. I think towards the end of the year, he hurt the Bruins' chances of getting home ice. I think he hurt himself. And also, once again, Brad Marchand was a no-show in the playoffs. He only had one goal, and the Bruins needed more from him if the Bruins wanted to move on. Besides that, the end of the year hiccup when he slashed the guy in the gonads, and then when he, didn't show up in the playoffs, I got to give Brad Marchand an A-. It would be an A if he showed up in the playoffs and didn't stick that guy in the groin. But since he didn't show up in the playoffs and got suspended late, I'm giving him an A-. I can't go A.
You being generous. I had him probably A level. I dropped him to a B+ because the selfish crap he did at the end of the season hurt the team, hurt the positioning, hurt everything, and then I think he got in his mind that he couldn't play his game, and then he was an absolute ghost in the playoffs. So when you he's just a regular season guy because Mike, as we know, this goes back to 2014 too. He had 2 goals or 1 goal in 23 playoff games.
Yeah,
he is not clutch. He's not clutch when it's on. He was clutch in 11, but that was it. I mean, he drops down. The great season he had cost him in the end of the season and during the playoffs because he's still immature. So that's why he got what he got. It'd be tough love.
What grade did you give Joe?
I forgot.
I gave him a B+. Yeah.
You should have had an A. But
Jesus, you guys are both being generous.
Whoa, good for you.
I think that crutch play at the end of the season really cost him, and I think that the playoffs, he really pretty much screwed the team in positioning wise because he could have had a better position had they won those last 2 games. If he was in the lineup, it certainly would have helped. I'm beginning to wonder the same question: is he just a regular season player? And how can he play and keep it being on the ragged edge and yet not get suspended. Because of that, he was really selfish towards the team, and I'm going to go with a B-.
I think that's harsh. Marchand had 39 goals this year and led the team with 80-plus points. Without Marchand, the Bruins aren't sniffing the playoffs.
But here's the thing: he did drop a couple grades because the last 9 games of the season, the one he was an idiot and got suspended, and because he just was
I
stupid.
understand. No, I totally understand dropping a few grades, but I think B- is harsh for Brad Marchand.
It was I'm in that B- B range, but more B-. So I'm more annoyed about the crotch spear than anything.
You said B-. You stick to B-. You said B-.
Fine, B-. I'll stick to it too. I'm harsh. I'm not a nice person. It's okay.
All right, the next one is Adam McQuaid. This one's Adam McQuaid. I mean, here's what he is. 10 points. 10 points. I think he's going to be going to Vegas too. Actually, 10 points on the year. Obviously, he has games where he's okay, gets hurt. He gets games where he sucks. Just Adam McQuaid. I mean, Adam McQuaid's just whatever to me. I mean, he wasn't god awful though. So I'll just give him a C.
Oh, you're really being nice, dude. I give him D. He sucks.
I don't think he was that bad to deserve a D.
Do you remember when they compared Kevin Miller and Adam McQuaid as the same player? Well, the way Kevin Miller finished the season shows that he's not even close to being the same player as Adam McQuaid. He's about 20 times better. So Adam McQuaid blows. Take your mullet. We'll see you on the strip. You're probably gonna be having those little things with the hookers on them. We'll see you later, Adam. You take care.
Well,
you guys haven't been to Vegas, right? Have you been to Vegas either of you?
He doesn't want to go to Vegas.
All right. Let me explain what I just did because you guys probably. So they have a lot of how shall we say people there illegally that are there with these little cards on the side of the street. They're in front of every hotel, and prostitution is legal there. So what they do, they have these cards and they go and they collect them and throw them at people, and they're all over the road and all this shit. So that's basically what Adam McQuaid is. So he's basically a pimp. All right, bye.
Oh God! I just removed my train of thought. Thank you, Joe. No, I don't. I think McQuaid and Miller, after the season, the way that Miller played were two different players. I think McQuaid was playing okay until he got injured. But I'm gonna go C. Just a flat C.
See you later.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna argue that. Next player on the list is Colin Miller, and I had high hopes for Colin Miller going into the year. Really, really high hopes. I thought he would, have a breakout year this year, and I just didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. Towards the end of the year, he got hurt. He was getting scratched for John Michael Lyles. That's how you know you're having a bad season when you're getting scratched for John Michael Lyles down the stretch. I don't think Colin Miller did much to really show me that he's NHL ready or show that he's ever going to be one of those top-notch defenders. I think I'm gonna give Colin Miller a D+.
Yeah, I'm with you. He was disappointing.
C-.
All right, keep going. We get to the side.
All right, Kevin Miller. So Kevin Miller's next. And, I thought Kevin Miller surprisingly was better towards the end of the year than he was in the beginning. And I'm starting to wonder if Kevin Miller played differently because Cassidy was coaching him than when Claude was. And I feel like Claude had him play a certain way when Cassidy kind of let him play a little bit more loose. If that makes any more sense, I feel like Kevin Miller was getting involved in the offense more when Cassidy became coach, and I thought Kevin Miller was one of the better defenders the Bruins had in the playoffs. I was pretty impressed with Kevin Miller. I'm still not overly impressed with his overall game, but I think maybe next year if he's on the team, that Bruce Cassidy will get the best out of him. So I think Kevin Miller gets a C+.
I'm pretty much with you. I thought I was not a Kevin Miller fan. I don't think you were either. But I think as soon as Cass came on board, he, like you said, more confidence, getting back in the play, getting into the offensive play. I mean, they were running gun everyone and anyone on the team, which was great to watch. It was entertaining as hell. And then the playoffs, I just think he was solid as could be, especially when they needed him most. So I give him a B-. I think the beginning of the year I would have gave him a probably D, but I think he really impressed at the end.
Now, you guys remember when I said I was very, very impressed with Torrey Krug and the grade I gave Torrey Krug, right? Yes. I gave Krug a B+. Kevin Miller played more like an offensive defenseman once Cassidy came on and he was rock solid in the playoffs. And I think the playoffs makes a huge difference.
True.
You guys might not like this, but I was so impressed with Kevin Miller myself personally. I'm giving him an A- because it was between him and Torrey Krug that were my two favorite defensemen right now at the end of the year.
Wow.
A- for Kevin Miller?
Wow, who would have thought?
Well, I don't think Kevin Miller deserves an A-. Obviously, Jason's entitled to his opinion, but I think an A- for Kevin Miller is way too high. You would think Kevin Miller didn't have a Norris type year to deserve an A-.
No. What did I say? B-?
Okay, fine. I'll re-amend it. I'll go with the B then.
Nope.
A fair grade for that would be a
Jason,
B. I like Mike's point of view of Norris type defenseman. Norris type defenseman deserves like an A-.
Jason,
but if
you gotta be stronger. You gotta be stronger with your grades, man. You can't let me influence you that easily.
Hey, you got me on that one. That's a fair argument. I'll go with the B.
Mike, stop bullying the Buckley. Stop it.
Sorry.
Mike brought up a fair point. I'll give him that one.
I think this was an interesting one too. Next is Dominic Moore. Obviously, I was not very high on the Dominic Moore signing to begin with.
I liked it. I liked it at the beginning. I did.
I didn't like it personally. Obviously, I just thought the Bruins should go younger. But I was very, very impressed with Dominic Moore. I thought he was solid all season long. As a fourth-line center, you knew exactly what you were getting from him every night, every game. His line became the second-best line for the Bruins down the stretch and into the playoffs, which is a scary thought. A 36-year-old Dominic Moore, who the Bruins signed for chump change, ended up being on their second-best line during the playoffs. Very, very impressed. I think Dominic Moore gets a really, really high B+, like the 89 range, B+.
Well, 89 range, like if he was like in NHL to 17. I give him a B. I thought he was above what I thought he was going to be decent play, but he's actually way above decent for me. I thought he was good. He was gritty. He was in there. I think he was probably one of those vocal leaders they needed as well. They just got him on a 1-year deal, right?
Yes.
I think they re-sign him. They should because they need him. I think he's a good veteran presence as well. So I give him a B. I thought he was it was a pleasant surprise. Jason,
I'm gonna go for Dominic Moore. I like Mike's grade, but I'm gonna go with the B, like 87-ish range.
Jason, you know what? Your grades are terrible. I think you should give him a D.
Thought about it.
See, I can't even be a bully. I have to laugh because I'm not a bully.
You couldn't take it that seriously when you said it.
No,
I'm not being a bully.
Mike, you're good. I enjoy your passion. It works for me, and it brings up a good debate, and I like it when you disagree, so don't worry about it.
How many times does Mike hold you by your ankles over the Tobin Bridge? Because I think he's done this. I'm pretty sure he's done this. Mystic River.
Oh, God. All right, let's move on, Joe.
Go ahead.
All right, the next one is actually his linemate, Riley Nash. And I gave Riley Nash a lot of grief earlier on the season.
Yes,
I thought I thought probably for the majority of the Bruins, he sucked to start the year. Shocker. Yeah. I thought he got better as the year went on. I think he was getting used differently. Like when someone used to get hurt, they used to move Riley Nash up in the lineup instead of just keeping him where he was with Dominic Moore. Because I think once they put Dominic Moore and Riley Nash together and left them together, those two were really good together. But I still don't think Riley Nash had a spectacular year. I think he had a okay year. I'm going to give Riley Nash a C.
I give Riley Nash as bad as he was Red Hawk garbage at the beginning. But as you can see, there's a trend here. A lot of players got better after Claude left.
That's why it's tough to grade it.
Yeah, no, why? Why is it tough at all? I mean,
because it's two different teams.
Not really. I give him a C+. Two different systems. If you want to say two different same team, two different systems. This system actually, is better fit for them. So I give him a C+. I thought he played really good at the end. He had that game. I can't recall who they played. Was it Toronto? No, was it Ottawa that he scored 2 goals? Which one was that at the end, towards the end of the season? Islanders. If they didn't win that game, yes. they were toast. So he had a huge game there. I think he was a pleasant surprise at the end too.
And I'm going to agree with. I'm going to go with C+.
That's right, Jason. That's right.
Let's move on here. I think these next two are going to get interesting. I think these two are going to be really, really debated pretty good here. The first one is David Pastrnak, and David Pastrnak obviously had a breakout year. This was the year that you wanted out of Pastrnak when the Bruins, drafted him. He had 34 goals, 36 assists, 70 points. I also thought during the playoffs he was hot garbage, though. I understand he had a couple of goals, but he was a turnover machine in the playoffs.
Bad.
I think it's going to be the same thing as Marchand. As I had him pegged for an A, but that the playoff performance and the way he played down the stretch didn't sit well with me. So that's why I'm going with David Pastrnak a B+.
I'm giving Pasta a B. Same thing like you just said, Mike. As good as he was during regular season, he was that bad in the playoffs, and where you need him. Just like Jason, you said, you saw, Kevin Miller step up. You saw Dominic Moore step up in the playoffs. You've seen certain guys like KYRIE, for Christ's sake, stepping up in the playoffs. The big guys they needed. If Marchand and Pastrnak got another goal too, they probably win that series. So I think he had 242 million shots and only landed 3. So even though 2 were goals, he looked like he had like rabid gerbils in his pants eating at him because he was just his head was going one way, his legs were going another way. It was absolutely.
Remember the first 2 games? How many chances he had, breakaways, and he wasn't even getting shots on net because he was just so jittery.
He was doing pirouettes. He was doing it was not even he was too scared to even keep the puck on his tape. He had to just get rid of it. It's like, dude, take a chill pill. But he could have got an A- from me, but he was just so bad in the playoffs. He had to get a B.
Well, I agree with Mike.
Dude.
And I can't go with an A- even though I want to, but I agree with Mike.
What did Mike give? Do you remember?
Mike gave a B+.
All right, who else we got? All
right, Joe, I want you to go first.
Is this Spooner?
Right? No, it's not.
Who's next?
It's Tuukka Rask.
Oh, let me just rub my upper body a little bit.
Here comes your binky.
Tuukka. Let's see how many people say trade him. This was not one of his best years. We know this for a fact. Okay, he did steal 2 games of the playoffs. I think he played 2 games. 2 games very well, 3 games okay, 1 game he was not good. So overall, I would give him $7 million. $7 million a year. Tim looks like They did not get their value out of him this year. I will give Tuukka Rask a B.
A B.
Mm-hmm.
I respect.
Can I go ahead, you Mike, please?
Yeah, go.
A-.
A- for Tuukka?
Yeah.
I need more. I need more out of him. I need more out of him in the playoffs. For $7 million a year, I need more out of him. That's why I'm not to cut you off, Mike, but that's what I need out of him. I didn't see that. The playoffs too. I know he probably got overworked a little bit, but I think he was a little bit. He wasn't average. He wasn't a C. He wasn't an A. I think B is fair.
All right, so I'm gonna. This is tough for me because I thought Rask played spectacular to start the year, and then he tailed off, and then he played spectacular down the stretch, where he, when the whole ride could open thing, and Rask shut up, and Cassidy called him out, and then Rask stepped up. I mean, in the playoffs, I don't think he was spectacular, but I don't think he was the reason they lost it either.
Right.
He did steal games 1 and games 5. I think without Rask, you don't even win a game in that series, to be honest.
But game 2.
I don't think game 2 was tough on Rask. I don't think Rask was the reason the Bruins. I don't think Rask was the reason. If the Bruins got a little bit better play from their backup goalie position, as we talked about earlier, Rask wouldn't have to carry the load, and I don't think he would have, end of the year where he did. And he was playing a little bit with an injury that people always seem to forget about because when Rask is injured, people seem to just criticize the crap out of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give Rask a B- though because he started off so hot when we gave him. He started off as an A, and then he killed off, and then he didn't. In the playoffs, he played okay, but he wasn't the main reason the Bruins moved on. I think what Nashville's doing with Pekka Rinne and seeing the way he's playing, and then the way Jake Allen played also for St. Louis, I think those goalies kind of stepped up and elevated and stole series. And I think Rask needed to do that for the Bruins, and he didn't.
Well, what's kind of cool is that whole Darling trade from Chicago, that's out the window because the Hurricanes got him. So everybody can put that away with the Martin Jones garbage, by the way. So.
All right, the next one is Spooner now, and I was very... that about sums it up. I was looking for... I was looking for Spooner and Pasternak both have breakout years. And you looked at Spooner, and obviously he has 39 points. You're like, oh, wow, he has 39 points? Yeah, majority of them are on the power play because Spooner can't play 5-on-5. Ryan Spooner was gotten scratched in the playoffs. Bruce Cassidy ended up saying in his interview on Toucher and Rich that Spooner was healthy enough to play, but he didn't like the way he was playing in the offensive zone, so he decided not to play him in the series against Ottawa. That goes to show you how bad he was. So I think Spooner should get a flat-out F, and I'm not happy with Spooner. He should be gone off this team.
I know what kind of time. I think we're at one close to an hour, so I'm going to go agree with you. F for Fugly.
Yeah, just let's go F and keep it at that. I see my energy.
Fair enough. Drew Stafford.
Save that energy for the mountains.
Do you guys want to do Drew Stafford or no?
Drew Stafford.
B-ish. C, maybe.
I give him as a pickup. He's one of Don Sweet's better pickups, which isn't saying much. I'd like to have him back. I think he's a good role player. I think B minus.
Cool. All right, so the last player we'll get to is Vetrano. Vetrano obviously had a weird year.
Yeah, not great.
Was hurt to start. Was looking for him. He started off like gangbusters, scoring a decent amount of goals. I think towards the end, he scored in Game 1 in the playoffs, but for the most part, he was on that line that was a black hole that didn't do anything for the Bruins. I wasn't very impressed with Vetrano. I think Vetrano gets like a D.
I give him a D plus.
D.
Same thing. He didn't show me enough.
D, for sure.
D?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So
We're doing McAvoy? We're going to do McAvoy. 6 games. That's not enough either. We can't do that.
We can do McAvoy quickly just because I was so impressed. I think McAvoy should get an A minus, to be honest.
McAvoy gave me a chub, so I'll give him a B. He's probably in 6 games, which is kind of we have to give him an incomplete. But if we're going to just do on the playoffs, the kid got an A minus.
I think the kid got an A in the playoffs for the way he played.
I think there was still a little bit of defensive lapses that he needs to work on. But I mean, all in all, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you if you give him an A because I couldn't believe how good he was.
He's insane. I can't wait to see him play a whole season next year. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
Is that it for so what do you give the team as a whole? What do we give the team as a whole?
All right. We'll do the team as a whole quickly, and then we'll get to your quick Crosby rant before we wrap up the show. Sure. The team as a whole, I was very happy that they made the playoffs, but I thought that the team as a whole could have been better. We talked about it earlier, how the Bruins could have had a chance, to be probably a 2nd seed instead of the 3rd seed and playing at home, even though they lost all 3 at home, as you said earlier, Joe. But they did make the playoffs. They didn't choke away the end of the season like they have in the past because it was certainly looking that way. Like that, they were heading that way when they were playing the Islanders, and like you said, Ryan Nash scored those 2 big goals. But they battled through it. They made the playoffs, and I'm going to give them a B minus.
You stole my thunder. Under Claude, they were a red-hot dumpster fire of F. And under Cassidy, I think they played like A minus, so kind of maybe in the middle somewhere, they're B minus. That's what I was going to give them to.
Under Claude?
Claude, they were F. For fraud, Claude.
So what?
B-minus.
So I'm going to go with a B minus.
Yep, I think B minus is fair. I think it's very fair. Because we did, no one expected them in February to make the playoffs, so that was amazing in itself. So we'll do that. So should we go to my little Sidney Crosby rant?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Sidney Crosby is a bitch. Okay, I'm going to say it straight up. All right, he's the best player, one of the best players on the earth, no doubt in my mind. But the way he gets away with stuff is incredibly insane. He hit that dude in the balls, just what Marchand did. Did he get suspended? What's the answer? No.
Nope.
He took that dude's finger off, the guy who plays for Ottawa. Did he get suspended for that?
Nope.
No. Now, tonight, Ovechkin kind of cheap shot him and then knocked him off balance as he's falling Nicholson, whatever his damn is. What's his name again?
Niskanen?
Yes, thank you. I have that list. Anyway, kind of hit him, and he doesn't have a record. He doesn't really have any suspension, so it was kind of unfortunate the way he fell, but he still should have laid up a little bit. But I can't feel bad for Crosby of all the crap he does and all the crap he gets away with. So to me, it's almost like karma, okay? And all these Pens fans are saying, because I put up on Twitter, I go, this is how many craps I give about Crosby and the way he plays and how he got hurt tonight with that half finger of the defenseman from Ottawa. So I don't know what you guys feel like, but I can't feel bad for a guy who's been.
You mean defenseman from Washington?
The guy, yeah, he hit him tonight. Yes,
Niskanen.
Might be a concussion. It might be a knee too because he fell awkwardly. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Don't get me wrong. I think that's just a crappy thing to think. Someone gets hurt. But if you're gonna play with fire, you're gonna get burned. And he got burned tonight.
I understand where you're coming from, but every league caters to their stars. It's like every NBA does it with LeBron. The NFL does it with Brady. Every league gets catered to, and I understand. I'm not trying to compare Crosby to them, but that's what happens. They protect the stars. Obviously, they want the star players to play. That's just what happens. And unfortunately, I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes Crosby does some stuff that makes me angry. He definitely is the best player in the world. But tonight he did get cheap shotted, and that deserved to be called.
Yeah, but just to your point, like that, this tells you that Marchand is not a superstar yet because he gets called and everything, and he has probably just as bad of a rap, but because he wasn't Crosby. He's never going to be Crosby. He wasn't Crosby coming out of out of juniors and all this stuff when they scouted him, what have you. That he's going to have that rap. Crosby's going to be the best player in the earth, and he's not. Even Ovechkin gets the benefit of the doubt. He should have got blown up for Carlo. But he did. Because he's one of the best players in the. I just hate that crap. But once if a guy gets really hurt from Crosby, the guy, God forbid, someone breaks their neck or loses 2 fingers or whatever, and he walks away, that just shows you the game. There's no integrity.
Fair enough. I understand where you're coming from, but
Jason, what do you say? We got Jason.
I don't have an opinion because I didn't see the play.
Okay, then good night tonight.
All right, so that will conclude our episode of Bruins Beat for this week. I think next week we'll get into more specifics about who the Bruins should keep in the expansion drafts for Vegas, and we'll get into a heated debate about that. There's been a lot of columns written about that, so we can discuss that. But for now, we'll wrap it up this week. You can follow myself on Twitter at MikeSetter22. You can follow Joe at BigBadsBruins88. You can follow Jason at JasonBuckley91. You can also follow our personal account at Bruins_Beat. You can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher, right, Jason?
Yes, you can find us on iTunes at Stitcher at Boston Bruins Beat Podcast. And also, I know I'm going to announce this for us, but we're no longer CLNS Radio. We are officially CLNS Media Radio Group.
Ooh. I did not know that.
Yep, Nick also decided to make the switch.
Very sexy.
Not CLNS Radio anymore, CLNS Media.
Oh, we got one quick thing from the chat room. Jason, you did predict the Preds winning it all, correct?
Yes.
Look at you. Too bad you don't put money on this stuff.
I know, too bad I don't. I'd be rich.
Well, yeah. Yes, we're not going to talk about anything else.
There's still a long way to go, guys. There's still a long way to go.
I know. I picked the Blackhawks and the Bruins. Okay. All right. Well, good night, y'all, and go.
All right, so we'll be back next week. Go Bruins.
Go Bruins.